When the gunfire stopped, the silence was louder. This is what they left behind. The gunshots had stopped, the screaming faded, but the silence that followed at Columbine High School was heavier than anything that had come before. The building was still, lifeless, but outside, chaos reigned. Parents stood behind barricades, some weeping, some frozen, eyes locked on the school. No one knew who had made it out, who was still trapped, who wasn't coming home. Survivors stumbled out in small groups, arms raised, covered in blood and dust. Some limped, some were carried, others were numb. Blank stares, shaking hands. One girl was asked on live TV how she got out. She said she jumped from a second-floor window. Her voice didn't crack. Her soul already had. Inside, police teams slowly cleared the school, room by room, finding horror after horror. The library was the worst. Rows of tables, silence, broken glass, spent shells, and the students still cold, young, a scene no one was prepared for. The final body count was 13 innocent lives lost, 12 students, 1 teacher, and more than 20 others injured. But the number that didn't make headlines? The hundreds who walked out carrying invisible wounds. The thousands who would never be the same. Word spread fast. By nightfall, Columbine wasn't just a school, it was a symbol, a name you couldn't hear without your stomach sinking. News vans lined the streets, helicopters hovered overhead, reporters scrambled for answers. Everyone wanted to know why. In the early days, theories flew like wildfire. It was bullying, it was video games, it was music, it was the trench coat mafia. But the truth wasn't that simple. Eric and Dylan weren't loners in the way people said. They had friends. They went to prom. They laughed in the halls like anyone else. But underneath it all, there was a storm. Eric was angry, arrogant, manipulative. His writings read like the pages of a manifesto, full of rage and delusion. Dylan was quieter, depressed, conflicted. He wrote about wanting to disappear, to stop hurting. Together, they fed off each other's pain until it boiled into something unthinkable. And still, people asked, how did no one see it coming? Well, some did. A classmate had tipped off police about Eric's website months earlier, where he'd posted threats and plans. But the search warrant never happened. It got lost in the system, like a lot of warnings do. In the weeks that followed, the country tried to pick up the pieces. Vigils were held. Funerals came one after another. Students returned to school, but not Columbine, not right away. The building was still a crime scene. One classroom was turned into a makeshift counseling center. Hundreds of therapy sessions began. Some helped, some didn't. Because how do you explain to a teenager that it's okay to feel angry, terrified, or guilty when their best friend was gunned down in front of them? In the months that followed, the survivors struggled to return to normal. But there was no normal, not anymore. Every loud noise was a gunshot. Every crowded hallway a trigger. Some dropped out. Some changed schools. Some couldn't sleep without nightmares. A few took their own lives. The trauma didn't end with the gunfire. Dave Sanders, the teacher who died that day, had tried to save dozens of students, guiding them to safety before he was shot. He bled out in a science lab, waiting for help that never came in time. His daughter spoke at his funeral. One of them said, "He always said he wanted to make a difference. I think he did." Columbine forced the country to look inward. Schools introduced lockdown drills. Security cameras were installed. Clear backpacks became common. Police departments rewrote their playbooks. No more waiting outside during an active shooter. They'd go in. But all these changes came too late for Columbine, and still, the shootings didn't stop. Virginia Tech, Sandy Hook, Parkland, Uvalde. Over and over again, the cycle repeated. Columbine wasn't the last. It was just the beginning. Survivors began speaking out. Some started foundations. Others wrote books. A few went silent, disappearing from public life entirely. Everyone coped differently. There was no guidebook for surviving something like this. In the years that followed, people started visiting Columbine like it was a memorial. They left flowers, notes, crosses. The library where 10 students were killed, it was torn down, replaced with an atrium. More light, more openness, a small attempt to heal. Eric and Dylan left behind videos and journals explaining why they did it. Authorities released some of it, but not all. They didn't want to inspire copycats, but it still happened. The blueprint had already been written. Even now, over 2 decades later, survivors still carry it with them. Scars you can't see, a sound, a date, a smell, and suddenly they're back there, hiding under tables, hoping they aren't next. There's one story that sticks with a lot of people. A girl named Cassie. She was in the library. The story goes that she was asked if she believed in God. She said yes, and then she was shot. The moment became iconic. Songs were written, books published, but later the details became fuzzy. Maybe it wasn't Cassie. Maybe it was someone else. But that didn't matter. People weren't holding on to the fact. They were holding on to the feeling, the need to find meaning in the madness. That's what so many people were trying to do, make sense of something senseless. Today, Columbine High School still stands. New students walk the halls. They laugh, they learn, but they know the story. They live in its shadow, and they honor the ones who never got to graduate. April 20th isn't just a date on the calendar there. It's a scar, a lesson, a reminder that tragedy can strike even in the quietest of suburbs. Even on a sunny spring day, the silence that followed the gunshots that morning wasn't really silence at all. It echoed through homes, through hearts, through history, and it still does.